When someone attacks you verbally, they are starving for your reaction. They want your defensiveness, your anger, your raised voice. It is the fuel that keeps their fire burning. So here is the question. What happens when you suddenly starve them of that energy? Most people think winning an argument requires having the last word. But true dominance is often found in the void you leave behind. What if the most devastating response to a verbal insult was saying nothing at all? Silence creates a hollow echo, and that echo forces an aggressor to hear themselves. Their hostility, once loud and powerful, begins to sound pathetic, out of place, unnecessary. The Stoics understood this. The person who remains unshakable owns the moment, not because they are passive, but because they refuse to hand their inner sanctuary to someone else's disorder. Tonight we learn how to weaponize stillness, not with cruelty, but with discipline. Verbal aggression is rarely about truth. It is about control. The aggressor wants to pull you into a rhythm, attack to reaction to escalation, because once you react emotionally, they have proof, at least in their mind, that the battle is real. Epictetus gave a timeless warning. You are not harmed by words. You are harmed by the judgment that words must penetrate you. Their craving for your defensive response validates their hostility. If you argue back, they can say, "See, you're the problem too." If you raise your voice, they can say, "You're unstable." If you explain yourself desperately, they can say, "I got to you." Your reaction becomes the currency they came to collect. And this is the trap. Immediate emotion creates a toxic loop. Your nervous system spikes, your mind narrows, you fight to restore dignity, and the very act of fighting hands them your peace. Stoicism shifts the perspective. You are not a target, you are an observer, and the observer chooses what enters the mind. Silence breaks the expected rhythm. The aggressor expects resistance, explanation, defense, and when they meet nothing, no argument, no excuse, no emotional display, the entire structure collapses, because aggression needs feedback the way fire needs oxygen. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a mirror. It forces the aggressor to sit with the weight of their own words, and something unsettling happens in that void. Their hostility becomes visible, not as strength, but as instability. Without your reaction to bounce off, their attack loses shape. It echoes back at them. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is not to become like the one who harmed you. And silence is often exactly that, refusing to be shaped by their disorder, not because you are afraid, but because you will not trade your inner order for their momentary chaos. Silence is only powerful if it is rooted in inner steadiness. Otherwise, it becomes avoidance. The Stoic version of silence is not frozen fear, it is active mastery. Mastery looks like this in the moment: a calm heart rate, a steady gaze, a relaxed jaw, breath deep and controlled. This is not a performance. It is the protection of your internal sanctuary. Epictetus would say, the insult is external, your judgment is internal. Guard the internal. A technique. When the attack begins, silently label what is happening. This is aggression. This is provocation. This is a request for reaction. Labeling creates distance. Distance creates choice. And in that choice you remember, your self-worth is not a public debate. You are not obligated to prove your dignity to someone trying to strip it away. Silence becomes an act of self-respect, not passive, deliberate. Dominance is not volume. Dominance is control. The person who controls their emotions controls the room. This is not arrogance, it is reality. A verbal aggressor is trying to move you, to push you out of your center. When you remain still, you communicate something wordless. You cannot reach me. Nonverbal cues matter. Upright posture, grounded feet, still hands, neutral expression, unhurried breathing, authority without hostility. And it does something profound. It tells the aggressor your time is valuable, your attention is sacred, and you do not spend it on insults. Seneca warned that anger is a temporary madness. When you refuse to enter it, you stay rational, and rationality is power. The aggressor might call your silence weakness, but watch closely. They will keep speaking, and the more they speak, the more exposed they become. Because the one who is truly strong does not need to attack. Silence is not about never speaking. It is about knowing when to speak. In professional settings, when someone is unfairly aggressive in a meeting, silence can pause the escalation. Then, after the void does its work, you re-enter with calm precision. I'm willing to discuss this respectfully. If that's not possible right now, we can continue later. You don't argue emotion with emotion. You set a boundary with clarity. In family or relationships, when someone attacks to provoke guilt or reaction, silence prevents you from feeding the old pattern. Then you choose your moment. I won't continue this conversation in this tone. You remove access, not dignity. In digital environments, online aggression feeds on speed. Silence online is often the ultimate power. No reply, no explanation, no defense. You don't wrestle in public to prove you are above it. You exit. The Stoic asks, "Is this worth my peace?" Most of the time the answer is no. Knowing when to re-enter matters. Silence is a tool, not a lifestyle. Re-enter when your body is calm, your mind is clear, and the conversation can be constructive. If none of these are present, silence remains the wiser choice.
The world teaches us to fight back instantly, to defend, to prove, to win. The Stoics taught something rarer, the power to remain unmoved. Silence is not surrender. Silence is refusing to make their chaos your home. It is a tactical void that breaks their rhythm, a mirror that exposes the hollowness of cruelty, a sanctuary that keeps your self-worth intact. And the final truth is this: when you do not react, you do not shrink. You expand. You prove, without words, that true dominance belongs to the person who remains unshakable. So the next time unfair verbal aggression comes for you, remember, you don't need the last word. You need the last breath, steady, calm, and yours.